Celebrations are continuing in Chile tonight after the successful conclusion of what must rank as one of the great rescues of history. After more than 2 months trapped deep underground, the last of the 33 miners reached the surface early this afternoon Australian time. ABC correspondent Conor Duffy has been on the scene, joined me a short time ago to reflect on this day. Conor Duffy, in the end this whole process has actually taken less than 24 hours. Just take us through the highlights, if I can put it that way, because I suppose each one of the 33 arrivals on the surface was a highlight in its own.
That's right, Kerry. This entire story has so many amazing elements, really all about human survival. Firstly, the will of the miners to survive on their own for so long down in the mine. They were there for 17 days before rescuers made contact. And then the will of the rescuers to save these men and get them out. Over the last 22 hours, this operation has picked up pace. Really, the biggest highlight of all was today when Luis Urzua, the shift leader, who was the last man up, he was the captain leaving the ship, arrived. People were chanting, clapping and applauding for minutes before he got to the surface, and when he emerged, this camp just erupted and a roar rang out through the whole valley.
And the Chilean president was right in the centre of it too, saying some amazing things, including, as I read it, that now the world can look past seeing Chile only as the country of a coup d'etat 40 years ago nearly.
That's right. He said that Chile would never be the same, that the world would view Chile in a different way. And Chile's President Sebastián Piñera has been ever present throughout these proceedings, and perhaps it's no coincidence that his poll ratings have also gone up as this saga has unfolded. And you're right, he was there to meet Luis Urzua. Luis Urzua handed over the shift. He said his job was done. The President bid him the best and told him to go and see his family, and then led a fairly rousing rendition of the national anthem.
One of the amazing elements of this, I guess, is that the whole rescue operation, once it began, actually worked so smoothly. There was no hint of a hitch at any stage?
That's right, it was flawless. When we spoke last night, we mentioned that there was a delay and that things had been quite tense into the lead-up. Well, once it got underway, it just flowed so smoothly. Each miner came up almost more quickly than the last. There was a couple of brief scheduled spots for maintenance where they took the wheels off the capsule and greased them, but otherwise things went very quickly. And as you mentioned, they'd allowed 48 hours, and they did it in the end in less than 24. As I mentioned before, the miners spent 17 days on their own, and when those first pictures of them were captured, they were very gaunt. They'd survived on just 48 hours worth of rations and water, and they were in a bad way. A small tube was sent up to send them down basic supplies like food and water. Video conferencing was going down. I spoke with a doctor in the Chilean Navy who'd been teaching them the basics on how to keep each other's health, and really you have to say they're in remarkable shape. There's a few minor issues with dental hygiene, and one man has pneumonia, but I spoke with his daughter this morning and she assured me it was quite a mild case and that really he was doing quite well. So I think that's another amazing element to this story.
Tell me, I didn't want to talk about this earlier because it's a diversion in a way from what has been, as we've said, an extraordinary unfolding event. But the extent to which the media from around the world flocked to this occasion and became part of the tent city that we can see behind you, along with the families of the miners, is a story in itself.
That's right. One agency estimated that there were 1,700 journalists, camera crew and support staff here, so it's been quite staggering. This entire valley has been filled, and it's really been going around the clock. You've had journalists from almost every time zone in the world, and I have to say the families have bore it all with remarkable grace. The families are all concentrated in the one area, Camp Hope, and as you can imagine, journalists being journalists, the media have flocked there every day to capture their stories, and they've bore it all with incredible patience and repeated their stories to people all over the world. And I suppose part of the reason perhaps is the immense pride that they feel in the miners who have survived for so long, and also in Chile for pulling off this remarkable rescue.
Conor Duffy, thanks very much for your coverage of what really is a historic story.
Thanks, Kerry.